Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to this week's first show of the new year. It's 2025. So much is starting up, and I wasn't able to start last week, so I'm going to start it this week. I'm glad for everybody who's able to come, and as you join, please join in the comments. I want you to be a part of this show because there's so much to talk about. It's a day of talking about belonging, productivity, how the two are connected, and going into some of the writing stuff that's coming on, and just some of the things that are going to happen this year. Some of the things are opportunities, some of what I'm working on. So today's kind of a potpourri of let's get ready to enter 2025, the brand new year. And this is going to be a fun one. But first, check in on those around you, because we know that there are people out there who they're going through struggles. They're having different things going on in their lives. Some of them, you know the problems they went through at one point, maybe earlier in the year, even like weeks ago. And while we come around people when we know and we see how they're down, how they need help, maybe it's a medical emergency, maybe it's something to do with the family issues, job, so many different things. And yet once they start looking happy, once they are putting on that face of everything's fine and you think they're doing better, there's that tendency to not check in, to not see how they're doing, when the reality is they're wearing a mask. I talk about masks all the time. It's such an important part of our lives that we're always wearing these masks when we really don't need these masks. So when it comes to the masks, we want to be able to drop them. We want to be there to help people drop the mask, see how they're doing, and really help to lift them up, to help them move beyond whatever location, position, box they may be stuck in, and to help level them up. I mean, I love throwing in my sister's level up to go with from boxes to butterflies and move beyond boxes, because the two of them, there's so much connection between those two, and I love it. And you'll see more as we go. So check on them, see how people are doing. Just because they're smiling does not mean they're doing good. I know what this is like. I know people who have gone through it. I've gone through it. So be there for others. In terms of my amazing sponsors, I always start with my dear sister, with Level Up Academy. And I forgot to kind of ask her for a copy. It would have been fun to have it, but she's created her own theme song. So when you start watching Level Up, watch her tomorrow at the same time tomorrow on her live stream on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and you'll get to hear her new theme song that she wrote. It's like so cool, and what she did with it's just so cool. Or just go back to her stuff and watch reruns of things that she's done over the last week or two, and you'll get to hear that song, and you'll get some great tidbits from things that she says. So do that, and check in with CJ. If you've got things that you are ready to get out there in the world, you have a project, you have something that you need to get announced out there, you need public relations, you need a press release, check her out. She has her own connection to so many industries to be able to do press releases. She has access to premium magazines, which, yes, they're a pay to play, but she also finds discounts so that she can get you into some of those major magazines. She got me into 6 of them. with with a much better price point, shall we say. She's always looking for discounts. She's always looking to help people. So check her out. Plus, there's going to be so many more opportunities this year with my dear sister. She's doing there's monthly free workshops that CJ, Danielle, and I will be doing throughout the year, as well as other workshops that we are building for people to level them up, to move them beyond boxes, to talk about writing, which is something I do so much of, and that's one of my bailiwicks. And for me, it's talking about belonging and what it means to move beyond those boxes, especially for women when we feel stuck. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then my other sponsor is the Hounds of Business community. CJ is always talking about, and I'm right there with her, what it means to collaborate over competition. When you collaborate, you work with people, it doesn't matter if they're doing the same thing as you, because they're not doing the same thing as you. And when you find that way to collaborate, to work together, you find a way to broaden where your connections are, where your opportunities are, as well as you're able to learn from each other, to grow with each other. So when you find that person, that group that you can collaborate with, then you can move forward and come up with more ideas. And with collaboration, you're able to work together to get those out there. Hounds of Business, that's what they're looking at. Mike Ashebrainer, that's what he does. He connects people. He created the Hounds of Business community, and it's a community focused on collaboration over competition. It's to bring people together. It doesn't matter if you do the same thing, or it gives you a chance to work with somebody in a field that maybe you never thought you had a connection to, but once you guys start talking, you start seeing where those connections are, where those lines are, and suddenly, boom, you are doing projects together. And it can be so amazing when you find the right people, because that's also an aspect of belonging. When you are with somebody that you can trust and you can create new ideas, new opportunities, you can basically fuel each other. And I can speak to that from experience, because it happens with my dear sisters, with CJ, with Danielle. It is that same way. So I want to do that. It's just check them out, see what they're doing, look at the opportunities, and be there. Find the ways to move beyond whatever's holding you back. And if you need help, I'm here to talk about it. I know what it means to ignite that awareness that you can do this. It is possible to move beyond whatever's holding you back. So I want to start off with my dear sister. This is my dear sister, Danielle. So it's like, morning, sis. I got Danielle Manoas and Dr. Constance LEYLAND, CJ, amazing sisters. But I want to start today with talking a little bit about belonging and productivity. So I'm going to take this to an organization focus, as oftentimes I feel like organizations, they don't see the benefit of belonging in the workplace. Maybe they think it falls under a different terminology, or they view it in a negative light. We need to stop that. When people feel like they belong in the workplace, they will be more engaged. They will stop spending their energy hiding whatever aspects of themselves they are. I've got studies. I've seen the studies of why we cover ourselves going into the workplace. when we cover ourselves, and the studies, one is by JobSage from 22, another one is Deloitte from 23. I wanted to say last year, but hey, we're in 25 now. And when it comes to that covering, it's essentially 3 in 5 of us, when we go into the workplace, we are hiding something about ourselves from the company. And it's because we're afraid of what might happen, how we might be treated differently, how others might react should they find out about these different things. And think about it, 3 in 5, and it's really more than 3 in 5. That is over 60%. That is basically 2/3 of the workforce is walking into the workplace hiding something about them, whether it's having overcome an addiction or dealing with an addiction. It could be maybe it's LGBTQ plus. It could be that they have a non-regional accent, and so they're trying everything they can to hide it. And when I talk non-regional, one of the things I'll mention is, like, think about that lady from the South who takes a job in the North and does everything she can to hide that accent, to hide that piece of her, because she's afraid to be stereotyped if she lets the accent through, if she lets people know where she's from. She's trying to blend in, and if you're trying to blend in, then if people hear that accent and they basically stereotype what they think the Southern belle is going to be like, they're likely to treat her differently. Why would she want to risk that going someplace else that nobody speaks like her, or somebody who they grew up in another part of the world and emigrated here? They're a US citizen, but they have that accent, and so they will speak as little as possible to hide the accent. But that means you are losing that person's full capability. They're no longer able to give 100% of themselves to the job, because they have to spend energy hiding this aspect of themselves, whatever it may be. When we're hiding that, then it could be somebody that went to an Ivy League school, and the place they're working, it feels like it's maybe more blue collar, if we're going to take stereotypes. And so how do you deal with that? An Ivy League working in a blue collar, and suddenly you're dealing with stereotypes. People are thinking that you're like this or you're like that, but you're not. So why are you going to take that risk? You're going to do everything you can to blend in, but it takes energy to blend in. It means putting on a mask to blend in, to fit in. When we try to fit in, it means we don't feel that we belong in that place. We don't feel like we belong as part of whoever that group of people is. Morning, Lisa. It's lovely to see you. And if you don't know Lisa, please check her out. She is there to support women in terms of menopause, but she also is there and educating people to understand that men have their own andropause, which is similar. So it's really important to understand these aspects. So check Lisa out. But when we're hiding these aspects of ourselves, then we can't give 100%. We can't engage fully, which means you're engaging superficially. If you are engaging at a superficial level, you're not willing to give your best ideas because you're afraid of how they might be viewed or how they might create a hole in your mask. And suddenly people will see who you are, and you're afraid that if they see that truth, if they see your authentic self, who you were created to be. I mean, okay, yes, the word authentic self is all over the place. People use it all the time. I view authentic self as that is who you were created to be. That is that core being of who you are that was placed in this shell to walk through the earth right now, to walk through this world, because really that's what we're in. If you read, it's like ashes to ashes, dust to dust, where we come from the dust, and when we die we go back to the dust. It's a shell. Yet who we are at our core, our soul, our authentic self, our true self, is who we were created to be. And if we are hiding that, if we are putting a mask over it, if we are not letting people see the beauty of that authentic self, we aren't able to accomplish what we were created to accomplish. And others are missing out on an amazing person who has so many great ideas. So that brings me back to, we're in the workplace with these masks. It's superficial engagement. Sometimes you might go a little bit deeper, but we're still being very careful about what we say, about what we do, how we let people know about ourselves. We don't need that. And then let's take that to the next level. So that on the personal level, especially with women, that's what I speak on. That is so important to me, to help other women to move beyond whatever box they are feeling stuck in. Why they know, so often we know what we should do to move beyond whatever this position is, but we let our fears hold us back. We let the words of others hold us back. When we are able to drop that mask, when we are able to be ourselves, and this doesn't mean we tell everybody whatever it was we're hiding behind the mask. We don't have to say a word about it, but we're not afraid if they learn about it. That is the awareness saying, I can take back control. I can do for me to move beyond this space what I need to, and I can start taking the steps. And when you take that first step, it doesn't have to be a big step. It can be a small step, but it's a step. When you take that first step, that means that you have started your journey to move beyond that box. And oftentimes, I don't like to label boxes, because that's a problem. Too many people, they label the box. It has a name, which means it has a label, a stigma, a stereotype, whatever. And those all hurt us. So being able to understand what box we're moving from, because we can be in so many boxes. And if you want to be in a box, hey, go for it. That's your choice. But so many of us, we don't belong in the box because it's holding us back. It's keeping us from being our full potential. So being able to take the first step and then map that course out. And if you need help, that's why I love speaking to women. That's why I love going to a conference and having these conversations, to speak to a group of women, to say, you can do this. And if you need help moving beyond that box, then let's find the way. Let me help you see different paths so that you can move beyond the box. And then we go into the next level. But if we're going to level up to business, then I think I'm going to bring in a surprise guest, and we can talk a little bit about productivity. Hey, sis.
Hey, productivity. I've been super productive. I don't know about you, but created 10 thoughts last night in like 30-40 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, you were like boom, boom, boom. Like, I think I'm going to create a pod. We're talking we're having a conversation on the phone, the three of us, and the next thing you're like, I'm going to create another bot. Of course, you're not telling us what it is. It's like, I'm just going to create a bot. And the next thing I know, within feels like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5, you've dropped a bot into the chat. It's like, here it is. And we just sit back and go, okay.
When there is a weakness and there is a will, there is a way, right? That's
Yeah.
just how it is. It's so weird. Like, first of the year, it's always the first month. Everyone is struggling to get back to the horse, right? To get back to the whole productivity thing, no matter who you are. It's just so difficult. First of the year. Um, Either you're you're sick, or you went through something traumatic during the holidays, or everyone is kind of like in slow-mo mode and no money because they spend it all on Christmas, like that type of trying to get back, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard sometimes. And so productivity is really hard. So I said, I can't multiply my cells, but I can create bots that can help me streamline my process even further.
Yep.
So I did. I'm like, so I did.
I guess that's next
Yeah.
on my list to learn, huh? How
I
to
know,
make
and
a
I'm
bot.
like, I made a bot just for you, sister. Let me show you something how that will work. It kind of opens up a lot on in terms of doing that. And it's funny because I created a bot. It's called a digital marketer, right? And also like a brand strategist. So I was like having this conversation this morning with my bots, literally 10 of them. I only did like 2. And I actually was looking for information on trends. Like, it goes with productivity at work, right? The free driven users versus paying customers. That's always a big thing, right? Even if you're a nonprofit, you still need to make money. And you provide so many free information out there. At least I provide so many information out there and courses for free. And people are like, well, the reason that they're not doing it because they don't see the value in it. Here's the thing. If you don't see the value on freebies because in the past it was really bad, even for something that you pay, you have to look at the person who's giving it, not necessarily the title of what it is. Because anybody can say, okay, I'm going to give you a class or a workshop on branding. So you got to look at the people that are giving you. Because I know there's some people complaining about certain individuals that we got rid of, by the way, sister. I'm so glad we did.
The
That
energy just
yeah, because this person is actually like providing services on branding, but I guess she's charging money, like a lot of money. And 3 people complain like, "Oh, there's no value. I got scam, and this is a scam." And I said, "No, it might look like it's a scam, but you have to take part of your own mistakes. That's how I see it, like your own journey, right? If you feel like you got scammed and there was no value given to you on the amount of money that you pay, you need to ask yourself how, so that you don't go into the next one doing the same thing. Because then that's not being productive, right? The same thing for work. When your boss gives the people a pat in the back and always talking to those people, and you're like, I thought I was doing a good job at work. Why does my manager don't talk to me or don't communicate with me? It's because often managers only communicate on the people that they need to watch out for because they need help. And the people who are actually doing the right job or the good job, managers don't talk to them because they're independent. They're doing this. You need to reverse that when it comes to productivity. You actually need to be fair to the rest of your crew, not just the people who need your help, but the people who actually are not needing your help, and use them to help you with productivity for the work, meaning they could actually help you. Instead of you doing 3 different trainings, they could help you train others, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, we need that productivity. It's and I'm just gonna kind of shift that into what I was gonna level up to, from the individual to the organization for productivity, because the center of this is it's all focused on belonging, and how it's through that belonging that organizations don't quite understand, I think, how this word, this focus, this aspect really benefits a business instead of being a negative. Because when people feel like they belong, I talked about how we cover and the fact that basically 2/3 of us walk into the workplace wearing a mask. We're hiding something about ourselves and we're spending energy doing it, which means we're not giving everything we can to a company because you can't give them 100% and hide aspects of yourself at the same time. That's not going to be productive. So we need to find the ways to get productive. And when it comes to the organization, I've already talked about how so much of, like, over 60% of us have that, and there's so many different reasons. But when it comes to the organization, being able to walk into an organization and take a look at what they're dealing with, and I've got different stats on this, and this will actually be part of some of the stuff I talk about or I write with the academic paper. But there's a study, and actually, as I put these together now, there's a study through Gallup where only 33% of employees are engaged in the US. Well, if I'm saying that 2/3 of us are covering going into the workplace, that means the only ones engaged are the ones that aren't covering, essentially, because they have no reason not to engage. They're not spending their time trying to hide something. And it's costing companies billions when people don't feel like they belong, because that's the whole core of why they're not engaged, why they're not being as productive or profitable. Because when a team is engaged profitably, and again, through Gallup, 21% of teams that are engaged teams show a 21% greater profitability. Think about that. And then in terms of an organization, that's 17%. Think about what your bottom line is, and if you have productivity go up by those kind of numbers, from 15 to 20%, how much more can you do with your organization? Because people feel like they belong there. They're willing to share ideas openly. You're getting more diverse ideas. You're getting more heartfelt ideas on how to make the place better. People are willing to throw out ideas. And in this case, in many ways, there really aren't any stupid ideas. You throw them out on the table, see what happens, because somebody else may go, yeah, that seems kind of stupid, yet I can take a piece of that and turn it into this. And how about that? So now you're collaborating instead of hiding and competing.
Yeah. Okay, so I teach this course called Motivation, and it's all about business entrepreneurship, right? And belonging definitely can boost significant productivity, right? When your environment and individuals feel valued, connected, and supported. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of research out there. This is one of the research that I always put out with my people. It's called Motivation Speakers Agency. There's actually they do some surveys. This is global engagement. We're not just talking in the US. They
Right.
literally said 15. There's 8 billion people, okay? Obviously, let's just say 5 billion are working, 3 billion aren't. 15% of employees worldwide report feeling motivated and engaged in their work. Only 15%. Think about that. Now, the
I
impact in
that.
performance in terms of motivated employees can lead to 20% improvement in performance. This is from JobSeek. Now, profitability, because we're talking about profitability and increase, organizations with highly motivated employees experience a 21% increase in profitability. So each organization, think about your profits right now, right? And increasing that by 21%. That's craziness, right? How do you do that? You reduce turnover because, like you said, engaged employees are 87% less likely to leave their organizations, indicating higher retention rates. Now, sometimes you have to look at all of these things, it's just too much. But a bottom line is you have to figure out what your employees are motivated. They're not there because they're volunteering, they're there because they need to get paid. Okay. Hiring new people actually costs you more money than retaining who you have already in terms of training, in terms of organizational alignment. But how do you enhance productivity? Well, teams with high employee engagement rates have 15 or 18% higher productivity. How do you do that? How do you, the cost of disengagement within your organization is literally unmotivated employees. So
Yep.
ask yourself, how do you motivate your employees? Stop guessing. Stop guessing. Go to each and every one of your employees and literally ask them, right? Sometimes people are motivated not just by money. I actually ask all my veteran students. I have surveys all the time when I teach these courses, and I said, okay, what motivates you? And people always say my family motivates me, so I have to feed them, obviously, right? So it's always money is the first motivation. So if you are not paying your employees well enough for this recession, for all of the things that are going so high, then why are they motivated to stay with you? It doesn't really matter if they're engaged in your organization. It doesn't really matter if they're really happy with your organization, because if their motivation is money to make in that organization and you're not giving it to them, they're going to leave no matter what you do. The
Exactly.
second motivation is literally about um, camaraderie, right? They love having Filipino karaoke nights. Even some of these people who are not Filipino, they love it. They love, doing some potluck on Fridays and things like that. Those are some of the simplest motivation you can do in your organization that most organizations don't do. Another thing is employee recognition. Literally from training that's built for your frontline. This is a company that does surveys. That's called that training that's built for your frontline. Employee recognition is a big thing. 77% of employees would work harder, okay, if they were more recognized. Can you imagine that? And then trust in leadership. 92% of employee literally cite trust in leadership as important for motivation for them. So you got
Mhm.
to look at the motivation factor of your employees. It's not enough that you're engaging them. Engaging them in what? Right? You don't even know what motivates them. So you got to go back up and said, okay, what is something that I can ask my employees that would motivate them here? Once you find those motivation, okay, you have so many stats already, but once you find those motivation, then you can have a mixture of maybe having a potluck, maybe having a recognition award night, maybe having, employee train other employees and do cross-functional teams. These are some of the things that you get your employees to stay motivated, productive, and then they feel like, okay, I belong in this organization. Because just talking about it without action is not going to help you, right?
No. And that's all part of it, because when they feel like they belong, and that's part of that is that belonging, when they feel like they're being engaged, when they're listened to honestly. This is not and people can see through when an organization asks these questions, but they don't really mean it. They're just trying to appease or trying to make it sound like they care, but they'll see through it because number one,
Because there's no backup with action.
there's
People
yeah,
just talk.
no action.
No, people talk and talk and talk and talk. But another thing that you people that I've noticed too when I used to work for Geico, because they're very big on motivation and they're very big on listening to their employees, they used to have a book club actually for all the managers. And if you finish the book club, you actually go in circles as managers once a week. We are given an hour to talk about the book, and it's always about leadership books and learning, the psychologists out there and what's out there. And each manager has a like a month that they can pick their own book, and then they can talk about it the next meeting. They give them the book. We get budgets to give to our employees in the book. and said, "Hey, read this book, and we're going to talk about why this is a good thing for our organization." And one of those books that I always is Who Moved the Cheese. Another thing that I always put them is Abraham Maslow. You know, I'm big on Maslow's hierarchy,
You are very
right?
big on that.
Very big, because you know why? People are motivated by hierarchy of needs, starting with the basic physiological needs and progressing to self-actualization. Most of us in our 50s, 40s, late 40s and 50s, that is actually self-actualization is what we're aiming for. But when you're young, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get kicked out of my house. I need to have a roof over my head and food over my table, and I need a job." And the sense of belonging is number three, right?
Mhm.
On Maslow's hierarchy. And then Daniel Pink, he's known for, it's called The Drive, the surprising truth about what motivates us. Because at the end of the day, you really need to figure out what motivates you, what makes you tick. That's when people always ask you, "Hey, what moves you? What kind of puts you in edge when when you don't want to get up in the morning and you have to? What actually keeps you going?" Right? So whatever that is for each individual, they carry that at work. So if you don't hit that work needs that they need personally, you're not going to motivate your employees at all, right? So yeah, reading books and talking about books and strategy to not only engage your people outside of work, like it's not just about work engagement either, right? We have nights where we actually have, like, our sales team, we have a decoration month, right? Each month we have a decoration month, and then we have like a little temperature goal, and our goal is like, let's say 50,000 a week or something, 50,000 a month, and we visually like compete every single time. And then they're like, "Okay, what happens if the team win?" "Well, we can have pizza party and ice cream party, and then on the next meeting for the whole entire organization, which is like 3,000 employees, everyone's team will get free breakfast, because we had our own kitchen and our own chef at Geico. We get free breakfast." Like little things like that makes a big difference, and it's a small budget for motivated employees to be productive, right? Like
Exactly.
actionable items.
Well, and think about it too, when you talk about that having that belonging in the organization, which increases engagement, then if you can reduce the turnover, right? You already, when you have it, it's going to reduce engaged employees have in another one of these reports, engaged employees have 41% lower absenteeism. Then when you think about how, I mean, there will be losses. There's always going to be losses. But if you can have a place where people feel like they belong and they really want to stay there, that's going to help to reduce that turnover. And if the cost of a turnover is anywhere from what, 1.5 to 2.5 or more times their salary, then the other piece you have to think about is what's that institutional knowledge that's going out the door when that person leaves? Sometimes it's hard to even put a price on that because it can be so valuable. If somebody has been there for 5, 10 years and they're just fed up and they walk out the door because they don't feel they're being acknowledged, they don't feel that they belong, they're not being engaged, they don't feel safe to be authentic, and they're spending part of their time is spent hiding themselves, and part is spent looking for someplace that they hope they will be accepted and belong. And once they go out the door, that can leave a company in a huge lurch, depending on what their role is, and trying to figure out how do you replace somebody that you can't replace. And it's not go find not build in people to just be ready to replace somebody. It is make them feel like they belong so they want to stay, and if they want to look for someplace else, that they're more likely to tell you and feel safe that you're still going to have their back until they leave. And that makes it a whole lot easier for such a late departure. If you've got a 10-year veteran they're like, I'm not feeling it here anymore. I want to find someplace else. Um, I will stay here until I get something else. And if you want me to help train a replacement, I am here to do that so that it makes that transition easier. finding those ways, think about how much that can save an organization besides just they're gone and now what do you do?
Yeah, but let's talk about the actionable steps, right? Like we talked a lot about belonging and productivity, but most organizations like, well, how do we do that? What does that look like in my organization, right?
Mhm.
So when I had 19,000 employees, that was really difficult because it was worldwide. And there was a lot of gaps in cultural differences and nuances and things like that that I could not even teach them if they were not an American. And even then, East Coast people are different than West Coast people. Midwest people are different than West Coast people. It's really different. The way the culture, the communication, the expectations, the outcome, everything is different. So what you do is, if you have an organization that's worldwide or international or even here nationwide, you need to build an inclusive culture. What does that mean? You already talk about encourage diversity, right? Recruit and include people from different backgrounds and cultures and perspectives so you have multiple answers for your questions. But you need to not just encourage diversity, but you need to foster inclusions. That means make sure that everyone feels valued and included, questions, curiosity, right? Things like that. And regardless of their role or their background, they could be your janitor. And if they're asking questions why certain things are doing that, you need to actually look at that. Another thing is the challenge of biases, right? Provide training to recognize and mitigate unconscious bias in decision making. Because a lot of people goes, oh, they're this certain type of people, so they don't understand because they don't speak English. Well, how the heck do you know they don't speak English? They don't understand. A lot of people think about all of us who speaks different multiple languages. We have to calculate those words, convert it in multiple languages to come up with English. You only have to worry about English. So please stop judging, right, people? So by having those challenging those biases and providing the training, those can build an inclusive culture. Another thing is prioritize open communication. I hate it when my manager says, oh, I have an open door policy, and every time I go I feel like I'm bothering this person. I can't even talk because they're
Yeah.
always on the phone, right? So having those transparent leadership, like share the company goals at least on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, and ask them like, hey, what are some of the things that you guys see on the floor that could help us, right? Change those openly with employees. Have a we used to have one where it's called shared ideas, but the bank actually gives us money if we share ideas. And then if we pick if they pick the idea that we share, not only we get an award and like I think it's like $100 or something like that, but you get like provided a loan for 0.5% off. Like it was so cool. The bank did that. But make sure that you have a feedback channel, right? Create a system for employees to share their thoughts and feel heard by having surveys, open door policies that actually works, active listening. Train managers, always train your managers to listen actively, not carefully, actively, and respond empathetically, right? How do you do that? Promote team connection, do team building activities, do buddy systems, do cross functional collaborations, right? Those promote that connection with each other. And then recognize and celebrate like birthdays or even a team that achieves something within their goal or milestones like, hey, happy 2-year anniversary, Susanna. This is so wonderful that you're doing this. Recognize those efforts, even sending an email saying, oh my God, these people have been here 2 years. Oh my God, these people have been here 5 years. Oh my God, these people have been here 20 years. Reward those efforts, right? Recognize. So those are some of the things that I do with my people. And I literally also offer training, mentorship, and career advancement path, professional development. So they see like, oh, I can move up in this company. I don't have to leave the company because I don't like my manager, right? Provide those professional development, skill building, empowerment, give them autonomy. Don't be like hovering, like a helicopter mom always on your employees. And what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm still doing the same thing. I'm trying to find that report. Like stop asking me the same dang question. You know what I'm doing, right? And empower them, have them, give them ideas, but also let them figure out how to get to that A and B. But just make sure that you're supporting them and fostering psychological safety is really important. That's when you really look at support the mistakes. If they make mistakes, don't point it out. Support that mistake and say, you know what, it's learning opportunities. Let's move on. Don't highlight it like, oh my God, Susanna, you did that, how rude, in front of everybody. And Susanna's not going to share no more next time because Susanna knows that this person is going to shame me anyway in front of all my colleagues. Why would I do that? right? No, no. Address those issues. If other people you see that, address those proactively, but don't create conflict for yourself by doing it in front of everybody just to show off. Don't do that.
No, it happens too often, and some people, they just don't realize it, and that's part of the training that has to happen, is understand. You can't sit there and say, go back to the childhood, sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me, words will never hurt me, because they will. And when, especially for those who are empathic, they feel everything in those words. So when those words are spoken towards them, you may think you're joking, or you're being
Funny.
sarcastic or whatever. They feel it in such a way that it's just a negative, and they feel like, just shut down. There's no reason to say anything, because if I say something next time, like you said, what's going to happen to me? What are they going to say? And we need to create a work environment, quite frankly, a world environment where it's safe to be yourself, which means you don't fear being who you are when you walk out the door, because you just accepted for who you are, understood that this is who you are. And if somebody doesn't like it, instead of playing these mind games and all that other crap, just go a different direction if that's what you got to do. But don't sit there and try and make people feel bad because it makes you feel good, because it really makes everybody feel bad.
That's when I feel like I know that religion is not for everybody. I feel like that's the book that people should read more often. There's so many lessons learned, and you can definitely interpret it. That's why there's Bible study, right? Because you could interpret it in many ways. People claim to be a Christian, but their action is not very Christian, right? Their words that they're letting go is not something you can erase. If you don't mean what you're saying, don't say it, because you're actually hurting people more when you're lying. And you're not just lying to yourself and lying to your person that you're talking to, you're actually lying to God, right? Whatever God you believe in, I think that you need to be careful on the words that you're letting go, because actions speak louder than words, but words last. Unless I get Alzheimer's, I will know what you just said, right? And that's what my grandma always raised me, like, never let go of the words if you don't mean it, or if you're angry. And if you're angry, don't have a conversation, just walk away, because you're gonna actually let go with words that you don't mean. And I have done that a lot, actually. I let go with words, and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do that? And I regret after the fact, but you can't take it back because it's already been let go. And it's really hurtful for people, so I try to shut my mouth. Like, I feel like I need, sometimes I'm like pinching myself, I'm like, CJ, don't say it, don't say it, because I know it's gonna be. And I when I'm hurt, I go below the belt, and I try not to. So I will try my hardest not to. Like, so far so good in my professional world, I have never let go below the belt. My family, or my really close friends, I have only let go one time below the belt with my close friends, because she really was super like bad with. And I'm like, you know what, if you're gonna go down there, then I'm gonna go down there with you in the mud. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to save my soul, not her soul. I'm not responsible for her, I'm responsible for me. So you got to look at yourself, like, you need to be accountable for your own self. And I understand that your feeling and your emotions is very strong, and you're trying to preserve your own person, your own entity, but it doesn't really help you by being mean. It doesn't help you by letting go words that you don't mean, right? And your action speaks louder. I don't care what anyone says sometimes, until I see it. Oh, I love you, or I care for you, blah blah blah, and their action speaks otherwise. We've seen that so many times last year, right? Oh, we care about your Dr. Leland, and then gossip about me behind my back about nothing.
Mhm.
And it's okay, because to me, it's like, it's just showing me who you truly are. And actually, your score between you and your God, it's already written, so I can't really help you with that, right? But
Yep.
this is a great conversation, I'm really loving that.
Well, and the other piece about that, just to follow on with that, is if you're going to use words intentionally to harm somebody, think again. It's not necessary. If your whole focus is just to try and tear somebody down because you think it's going to make you feel good, um, well, again, go back to your creator, and they are watching everything you do. If you're gonna go that way, if you're gonna start judging people, because you just don't like it, or because you think that's what your creator wants you to do, think again about what it really does, because it does not open doors. It closes doors. It makes life more difficult for everybody. And in this world and the way everything is right now, we need to open more doors. We need to create more opportunities for people, not try and tear different people down because it makes us feel good, or we think we're doing the right thing. But if you think back, especially if you're a Christian, if you think back to Jesus and everybody that he spent his time with, it's the same people that everybody else is knocking. So think about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want to take the last few minutes though and hit on two things that we have coming up, because we have two anthologies going on. And so having you here, it's easy then to really talk about them briefly, because I know we only got like 5 minutes before you got
I
to
have to
go.
actually go and log into Zoom, but yes. So the first one is the academic publishing, which is I will be doing the academic publishing. But that actually is really cool because anybody who has a master's degree and up,
There
so
it
long as
is.
you're into like, so long as you're into openness, because I'm going to actually probably do, I don't know if it's going to be on the 23rd or the 30th Thursday. I'm gonna have in the midday, probably I will be having a open um conversation to come in. So if you have any questions, you can come in and ask. But I also will have a training that day on how to do the research, how we can help each other. And I'm only needing at least only 10 people on this one. I cannot have more than that, really, because it's the editing is quite hefty. And then we have until April to do the summit to really work on our manuscript by then and present it to everyone.
Yep.
We'll invite everyone for that presentation for the summit. It is academic summit,
Yep.
and then we're going to publish that book by May. I'm hoping the publisher will be done, because sometimes they take a month to do it, and then we have 6 books. Hoping we'll have 6 books just in this one anthology, and then of course we have 4 anthologies, scattered pages, right? This one,
Scattered
and
pages.
yeah, this one Susanna and I are doing together, and that one actually is 4 anthologies in a year. This one is the first one, which I am putting the Chronicles of Scattered Pages. I'm actually creating a video right now as we speak, on this Scattered Pages, and my marketing campaign is going to come out sometime today on that. But that one is about 2,000 words. It's not 3,000, and basically you can write whatever you want. It doesn't matter what it is, so long as it's appropriate for business or personal, so long as it doesn't have any keep it PG-13, basically.
Exactly. And we know how to help people bring it down to the PG-13 when necessary, because we're the
Yeah.
ones doing all the editing.
Yes, 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 on this one. Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so much going on. It's going to be exciting. Um, yeah, it's going to be an amazing writing year, and then we have anthologies in a box and so many other opportunities, besides the monthly free lessons, free workshops, and
Courses that for pay. I'm gonna put mine actually on the 18th, this Saturday. I have decided I think I might have to change my class. I don't know who's coming in, but maybe. I think I'm going to change it to how to use my bots to help you with your process in the day, and what are some of the prompts. It's a little bit on prompt engineering, maybe. I don't know if I'm going to do it this 18th or on the 25th. I'll figure it out, because we have a lot going on in each month, and I have a calendar for everybody to kind of follow through. If I do get sick, you have to be flexible because I do move things around.
We do have the book club too. So we have a
Yes.
book club, which when people are here for 10 consecutive months, they get into one of the anthologies, but it's not a read the book and talk about it. It is really more how to write, how to
Technical
publish
aspect.
podcasts,
Yeah.
technical aspects. So it's a lesson every month on something they're really there to help lift you in your writing. And those who have been in it, I can see how much they're getting out of it, because we have that class with the two of us. We have a workshop at the end of the month for them to come in, talk about what the work class was about, and ask questions. And it becomes a really nice conversation.
I also wanted to say that start with you're doing good, like doing good business, because I will be having in June our 50 inspirational connections. It's our third year this year. So I will have that open for a month, right? And all you got to do is submit 5-minute video. It's the same thing every year. It's just different people. And to highlight it more, maybe this time we'll have prices on the groups who are active and things like that. We'll see. But 50 inspirationals coming up in June, and it's going to be in July, and it's all of that. And so we have a lot going on. It's just a matter of like amplification and leveling you up in any possible way where you want to level up. We also have confronting domestic violence. Nicole actually and I have an event on February, guys. This is for teen dating, and looking for speakers who have knowledge on how to watch for those love bombing then converted to physical abuse and mental abuse and emotional abuse, right? We gotta educate people, especially teens, on that, because we do have a couple people that we've seen on the news lost their lives because of their spouse, right? I mean, this Filipino girl got married in 7 days. She died within 7 days that she went to Europe with her husband. He killed her. And so, you got to really watch out for those, and we got to watch out for each other. So we have courses like that to help you out however you want and how you want to show up.
And for the teens too, it's the especially with girls, it's trying to make sure that don't they don't get sucked into these conversations online and then give photos that they later regret because it gets used as.
Oh, that's a different conversation, but
But
yes,
it's
yes.
still important because we
That's one of the
put it out
important.
there.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and how many have lost their lives or been lost from a family, been taken away into something that they should never have. They should.
Recording in progress.
So yeah.
That is true. That is true.
Yep, you've
All right.
started your class, so have
Yes, I
fun.
have. Bye, everybody. See
Love
ya.
you, sis. And yes, it's so much fun having her here and having this conversation, because these topics, both the dropping the masks, being able to move beyond these boxes that hold us back, and as much as we may not, I don't put labels on these boxes. Yet quite often, many times we need to have some sort of an idea as to what that box is, because that helps to make it move beyond whatever it is. So if you're stuck and it's a domestic issue, it's violence, it's whatever that box is, it imposter syndrome, being told that you're not capable when you know you're capable, being told to do things that you know in your gut that's not who you are, but you do it because somebody that you trust says you're supposed to do it, or somebody's found a way to control you to get you to do it. So we want to get beyond those boxes and then taking it to the next level for the organizations, how an organization can create that work environment so that you can drop the mask. You can be your authentic self, which does not mean you're telling everybody whatever it was you were hiding. You're just being able to walk into that space as yourself, and then you can truly, fully engage with the best ideas, the best thoughts, and do everything you can to help the company grow instead of being there and sitting back and thinking, I need to get out of this place. And the company maybe doesn't even know it. And the next thing you know, you've gone, or five people disappear because they just don't feel safe in that organization. They don't feel like they belong. How much of a financial impact is it when you start losing people, especially if they go up and they're more senior level and they're like, no, I can't do this anymore. This just isn't right. I don't feel safe. I'm out. We need to find those ways to reduce those costs. And the first place is belonging and finding that way to engage with people so that they feel safe. They enjoy being where they are instead of dread going to work because they need that paycheck. When we have to go someplace because we need the paycheck, it's hard to give everything that we have to be able to make it a better place. If we don't see it, we need to keep finding someplace new to go and find a way to find that place that will lift us. And when the organization lifts us, then we can in turn lift the organization. And what a beautiful thing that becomes. So thank you everybody for coming today. It was great seeing you, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.